All right, today we're tackling one of the biggest, and I mean biggest, questions you can possibly ask. What is the shape of everything? We're going to go on a little journey, right to the edge of what we know, to figure out if the universe just keeps going and going, or if it actually has an end. So let's just put it right out there. Is the universe infinite? Does it stretch on forever and ever? This is a question that people have been wrestling with for, well, forever. From ancient philosophers just staring up at the stars to the greatest physicists we have today. And if it's not infinite, well, that leads to an even weirder thought. Could there be an edge? You know, like a cosmic wall at the end of it all. Now we're getting into serious sci-fi territory, right? I mean, what would you even see there? Could you, I don't know, stick your hand through it? It's a fun thing to think about, but to get some real answers, we need to start with what we can actually see. And that brings us to our first major stop, what we call an edge in time. Because to even begin to understand what might be out there, way beyond what we can imagine, we first have to get a handle on the limits of what we can see, from right here on our little planet. Okay, so we know the universe isn't infinitely old. It had a beginning, the Big Bang, about 14 billion years ago. And because light travels at a set speed, a very, very fast speed, but still a set speed, that means there's a hard limit to how far we can see. We can only see things if their light has had enough time to make the journey to us. This creates a kind of bubble all around us, and we call that the observable universe. It's not a physical wall, it's a boundary in time. Now, wait a minute. You might be thinking, if the universe is 14 billion years old, how can the edge be 45 billion light years away? Great question. And the answer is one of the most incredible things about our cosmos. Space itself is expanding. So while that ancient light was traveling towards us for billions of years, the very fabric of space it was traveling through was stretching, carrying the source of that light much, much farther away from us. Mind-blowing, right? And what's inside this bubble of ours? Well, the numbers are they're hard to even wrap your head around. We're talking something like 200 billion galaxies, and each of those galaxies has hundreds of billions of stars. Think about this. For every single grain of sand on every beach here on Earth, there are thousands of stars out there in just the part of the universe we can see. It's incredible. So this is the really crucial thing to get. When we look out to the edge of our observable universe, we're not seeing a brick wall. We're actually looking back in time. We're seeing the universe as it was right after it was born. So beyond that edge isn't nothingness. It's just more universe. Parts of the universe whose light hasn't reached us yet. Okay, so we've got this gigantic cosmic bubble that we can see. But that leads to the real monster of a question. What's on the other side? What lies beyond the limits of what we can see? Is our bubble just a tiny little speck in a much, much bigger reality? If you ask pretty much any cosmologist out there, they'll tell you, probably not. All the evidence we have suggests our observable bubble is just one small patch of a much larger, maybe unimaginably larger, cosmos. The real mystery is, how much larger? And that question basically splits into two possible and equally mind-bending answers. Is the universe finite, meaning it's ridiculously huge but it does have a definite size? Or is it truly infinite? Does it just go on forever? Okay, let's break these two ideas down. Over here on the left, you've got a finite universe. It has a specific size, but, and this is the tricky part, it could be curved in a way that means it doesn't have an edge. On the right, you have the infinite universe. No edge, no center, no end. Just endless space. Now, it can still be expanding. That just means the things inside it are getting farther apart. I know. The idea of something being finite, but having no edge, sounds like a riddle. How is that possible? But there's actually a pretty simple way to think about it. Seriously, picture it. Imagine you're a tiny little ant walking on the surface of an orange. You could walk in what feels like a perfectly straight line forever, and you would never, ever fall off an edge. You just eventually circle all the way around and end up right back where you started. The surface is finite, right? But it's also boundless. Some scientists think our three-dimensional universe could be curved just like that, but through a fourth dimension we can't perceive. So, of course, scientists have been looking for this curvature. And what have they found? Well, as far as we can tell, our universe appears to be incredibly, almost perfectly flat. Now, that doesn't mean the orange theory is wrong. It just means that if the universe is curved, it must be on a scale that is thousands of times bigger than our entire observable universe. So big that to us, it just looks flat. Okay, but what about that other possibility? What if the universe is genuinely infinite? Well, if you follow the logic, it leads to a conclusion that is, frankly, astonishing. If you have an infinite amount of space with a finite number of ways particles can be arranged, then over infinite distance, any and every possible arrangement must repeat. That means somewhere out there, trillions and trillions of light years away, there could be another solar system, another Earth, and, yeah, maybe even another you. We could never get there, never even see it, but mathematically, it could be out there.
So, wow. We've got a universe that might be finite but boundless, and an infinite one that might have endless copies of everything. So where does that leave us? Let's take a step back and talk about what we actually know for sure.
Here it is, the simple truth. We don't know the final answer. We just can't measure something that might be infinite. We can't test it, not with the technology we have. But we do know that our corner of it, our observable universe, is finite. Everything we will ever see, ever touch, ever interact with is inside that bubble. And let's be honest, with 200 billion galaxies to explore, it's more than big enough for us.
And really, that's what's so exciting, isn't it? The mystery is what keeps us looking up. We might not have the final answer, but the journey of figuring it all out, that's what science is all about. One incredible question at a time. Thanks for joining me on this one.